I realized that I had to be more aware of gender when speaking in English. When I'm speaking in Japanese, I have less awareness of gender. What do I mean? One day, a Russian friend told me that I often refer to my dog, Ein, using wrong gender. Ein is female, and of course I know that, but she's a dog, so I'm not used to referring to animals with pronouns like she, her, hers. In Japanese, we usually don't use pronouns for animals. We would call them by their name or nickname. In my case, I call her Ein. アインに餌やった？うん、さっき散歩した時にあげたよ。ねえ、アインちょっと太ったんじゃない？最近結構おやつあげてるからね。In this Japanese dialogue, there's no mention of her gender here, no pronouns, and this way of speaking feels completely natural. But if you look at the English translation, it's structurally more natural to use pronouns that indicate gender. In Japanese, referring to dog 彼女 or 彼 sounds unnatural. After he pointed out that I often misused pronouns for my dog, I started thinking about it and realized that I'm usually not very aware of her gender, even though I know she's a female. But I'm not aware of it most of the time because Japanese language doesn't require me to be aware of it. When I make example dialogues for my Japanese course, I often run into situations where I have to decide a character's gender just to make the English translation sound natural. For example, 田中さん今日も遅刻？そう、30分ぐらい遅れるんだって。また？昨日飲みすぎたんだってさ。またか。あの人酒好きだからな。When I wrote this dialogue, I wasn't thinking about Tanaka's gender. Is Tanaka a man or a woman? Well, it doesn't matter here. But when I add English translation, I have to decide whether Tanaka is a man or a woman. Well, how to translate Tanaka-san? Mr. Tanaka? Ms. Tanaka? Or just Tanaka? But if I translate Tanaka-san into Tanaka, I'm ignoring the honorific. How to translate あの人? It's literally that person. But in English, in this context, saying that person likes alcohol sounds unnatural. Let me give you more examples. すいません、お客様。当店禁煙ですので、おタバコは外で吸ってください。How to translate すいません、お客様。Excuse me, customer? In English, in this kind of situation, maybe you might use a word like, excuse me, sir, excuse me, ma'am. But people don't generally say, excuse me, customer. 佐藤先生、この単語の意味を教えてもらえますか? How to translate 佐藤先生. Hey, teacher Sato. And in English, people say things like, what's up, bro? How's it going, man? But there's no equivalent of bro, man in Japanese. In this kind of situation, we would say, おう、元気？最近調子どう？調子いい？ And there's no indication of gender here. You might say that Japanese has gendered speech styles. 私ちょっと買い物に行ってくるわね sounds feminine because of the first person pronoun 私 and the sentence ending particle はね. While if I say 俺ちょっと買い物に行ってくる it sounds masculine because of the first person pronoun 俺 and the sentence ending which gives off blunt tone. But the difference from English is that these Japanese speech styles are just a matter of how you express your personality. If you speak bluntly and roughly, you sound more masculine. If you speak more softly and elegantly, you sound more feminine. It's just a matter of tone. It's like the difference between, come here, sweetheart, and get your ass in here. In English, gendered expressions like Mr., Miss, Sir, Ma'am, and pronouns are part of the structure essential for speaking natural English. To speak English naturally, you have to be aware of gender. When you find the perpetrator of a crime you witnessed, you say, that's him. But in Japanese, we say, あの人です. hito means that person. It seems like, depending on the language, there are certain things you need to be aware of in order to speak naturally. In Russian, for example, nouns have grammatical gender. House is masculine, room is feminine, window is neuter. And knowing them as facts is not enough because you can't just stop and think about the gender of a word every time you say something. Okay, I want to say the room is clean in Russian. Okay, how to say it? Room, комната, is feminine. So I should use the feminine form, чистая. So it's комната чистая. It seems that in languages like English, Russian, or other Indo-European languages, the perception of gender is built into their underlying grammatical structure, so speakers are often required to be aware of it when forming sentences. While Japanese does have gendered expressions like kare and kanojo, but they are not used as frequently as in English, and speakers don't need to be constantly aware of gender in the same way. But instead, speakers of Japanese are more aware of person's age and social relationships. In Japanese, we don't say, he's my brother. 彼は私の兄弟です。It's a bit unnatural. It sounds like a direct translation from English or other languages. Because we say either 彼は私の兄です or 彼は私の弟です。When you say, she's my sister, Erica, the first thing that comes to our mind is, your sister, you mean older one or younger one? I've never heard anyone saying, 彼女は私の姉妹です。Because we usually use 姉 or 妹 in this situation. In Japanese, age is an important thing that we have to be aware of when speaking properly. In Japanese, it's not that common to call your older siblings by their name directly. For example, if Mika is my older sister, I would usually call her 姉ちゃん or maybe Mika 姉ちゃん, Mika ね. Or it's also common to use a nickname like みーちゃん. But in Japanese, even between siblings, it's often considered inappropriate for younger siblings to call them by their name without honorifics. お、ミカ、何やってるの？ミカってあんた誰に向かって口聞いてんの？ちゃんと姉ちゃんって呼びなさい。In Japan, we are conditioned to be aware of our age since we were very small. Say, Kaname is a 2-year-old boy, and my parents would say, かなめ、お兄ちゃん来たよ。この子はケンゴ兄ちゃん。一緒に遊んでもらいなさい。ケンゴ、あんたはお兄ちゃんなんだからね。ちゃんとかなめくんのことを面倒見てあげなよ。In Japanese, parents often introduce other kids using words like お兄ちゃん、お姉ちゃん, or 年下. We're all made aware of who is older and younger. And you are not supposed to refer to older kids by their name without honorific, even though older kids would call younger one by their name without honorific. Kengo is 1 year older than me, so I call him Kengo-kun, or maybe Kengo ni-chan, Kengo ni. And Kengo would call Kaname without honorific, Kaname. For kids, older kids are not tomodachi. They are rather Oni-chan or One-chan. By the way, you might be wondering about the use of chan and kun here. You may have learned that chan is used for younger females and kun for younger males, which is partially true. For adult, chan and kun are typically used to address younger people or those in a lower social position. But among kids, chan and kun are used to address older kids. That's why in the Japanese idol industry, younger members often refer to their seniors using chan or kun. The Japanese idol world is, in a way, a mimicry of the school system, where you call seniors with honorific chan and kun. For example, if Kimura is 10 years older than me, and in normal adult society, I'm expected to call him Kimura-san. Calling him Kimura-kun would sound rude. But in the idol industry, say I'm an idol, I will be expected to call him Kimura-kun because different rules apply in adult worlds and kids' world. They treat their idols, even if they are 40 years old or 50 years old, they treat them as some kind of teenager in school. And by the time we enter school, this system of age hierarchy is internalized. We cannot see other people without seeing their age. Or strictly speaking, we see which school year other kids belong to. Say you and I are both 14 years old, but I'm in the second grade and you're in the third grade. Even though we're same age, we're both 14 years old, but you're 1 year senior in school year, so you are my senpai. I'm supposed to be polite to you. But for you, since I'm your kohai, you speak to me casually. And even if you and I often hang out together, because there's a gap in the school year, I'm not sure if I can really call you tomodachi. Because I don't dare to call you tomodachi. You are my senpai. So when I refer to you, I might say 仲がいい先輩 instead of 友達。ねえ、かなめ、よく一緒に遊んでるあの子って誰なの？ああ、あの人は仲がいい先輩だよ。へえ、友達なの？友達っていうか先輩？ If you're born and raised in Japan, it becomes difficult to see other people without those social lenses. Age is just one element of it. In Japanese, it is very common to use title to address people, not by their name. 社長、明日の仕事休んでいいですか？部長、今日の会議は何時からですか？お客様、こちらのハンカチ落ちてたんですが、こちらはお客様のものではありませんか？運転手さん、次の信号を左に曲がってください。先輩、チョコレート作ったので、もしよかったら食べてください。In cultures heavily influenced by Confucian ideas, including Korean culture, people pay more attention to who you are within a social relationship rather than who you are as an individual. I know social relationships exist in every culture, but in Japan, at least compared with the US, they're more deeply embedded in the language itself, requiring speakers to be constantly aware of their position in the social context. And it is one of the reasons why second person pronouns are often avoided in Japanese. Using anata, which doesn't indicate any social relationship, could actually sound rude because it treats the other person as an equal individual without acknowledging their social position. I call you Ni-chan, acknowledging I'm younger than you, meaning I have lower position than you. 要先生、僕来週から日本に留学に行くんですけど、今の先生の話を聞いて、僕、敬語のルールとかよくわからないので、ちゃんと日本でもうまくやっていけるかちょっと不安になりました。大丈夫だよ。実際日本人の中には、外国人があまり礼儀を気にしないでラフに話してくれることを喜んでる人もいるから。そうなんですか？そうそう。日本人はさ、お互い気を使いすぎて疲れてんだよ。例えば遊びに誘いたくても、誘ったら迷惑かなとか、誘ったら失礼かもしれないなとか思って、結局誘えなかったりするし。でも外国人相手だと、こういう日本人同士の暗黙のルールが適用されないっていうのが直感的に分かってるから、逆にカジュアルに、逆に自由に話せていいなって思うこともあるんだよ。日本で実際に生活してみたら経験するかもしれないけど、日本人の中には日本人相手には敬語を使うけど、外国人相手にはタメ口を使うって人も結構いるんだ。でもそれは外国人を見下してるからそうしてるんじゃなくて、日本人同士に存在する敬語の束縛から解放されているからそういうふうにするんであって、それは本心ではもっと気軽にタメ口で話したいっていう日本人の本心の表れなんだよ。そうなんですか？そうそう。だからさ、日本人を敬語の呪いから救ってやってくれよ。でもそういうカジュアルな話し方を嫌がる人もいるんじゃないですか？ まあそういうやつもいると思うけど、そういうケツの穴がちっちゃいやつとは友達になんなくてもいいんじゃないか？